بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Ādāb al-Salāt by the late Imam Khomeini. We start tonight the 7th chapter. The 6th chapter was about the spiritual aspects of ritual ablution in the form of ghusl. We had lots of discussions about how, from a mystical perspective, ghusl helps us to think about deeper sins and deeper issues that we need to remove, and in particular being egoistic. We refer to the story of Ādāb ala nabiyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam. We made a comparison between Islamic perspective and Christian perspective and the issue of original sin, and also we mentioned some similarities. So now we want to continue with another requirements of Salat, which is removing things which are ritually unclean from body or clothes. This is not ghusl. This is like washing. When, for example, your hand has become najis, you have to wash it. Also, if you commit hadas asghar, for example, you sleep, you go to washroom, you need to make Voodoo. So this is also a kind of tahara, but with respect to hadas asghar, not hadas akbar like janaba or haze, etc. So let us see what the author offers here. He says, with respect to the previous discussion, the previous type of tahara, which was ghusl, we said that what was the real hadath was not just janab or haze or istihaza or nifas or mas al-mayyit and other things. The main problem was ananiyat, the fact that we look at ourselves as independent creatures. We disconnect ourselves from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are worshipping ourselves. So he says, Ābid wa ma'bud shaitan wa nafs ast. Instead of worshipping Allah, we are worshipping ourselves. We are worshipping shaitan. So we are worshipper and we worship ourselves. We need to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but this is not easy. Physical acts of worship are not difficult, but if you want to remove any trace of shirk, it's not an easy task. So he says, the Wayfarers if they undertake this journey in order to reach some positions, they want to reach maqamat, they want to, for example, be able to understand the hidden things, understand future, to be able to have tayyul arz, move from one place to another place, immediately, then he says this is manipulation of nafs and shaitan. Shaitan is playing with such wayfarers. This is ill practice. They are indeed wayfaring in their own nafs. You should not be attending to such things. Your niyyah should be closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to purify yourself. So he says such people still are not clean from hadath akbar. Even if they do 10 times ghusl, they have not done that spiritual ghusl from ananiyat, from egoism. It has not worked for them. But if they do it properly, then they would worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah becomes their ear, their eyes, their hand, as we have in Hadith Qurb al-Nawafil, كنت سمعه الذي يسمع به وبصره الذي يبصر به ويده التي يبطش بها. Then he says, Wudu is light. As you know, al-wudu'u nurun. But wudu doesn't have the power of ghusl, because wudu helps us to get rid of some problems, but they are not more fundamental than the problems that ghusl helps us to remove. Therefore, it is said, ayyu wudu'in anqa min al-ghusl. Which wudu is more purifying than ghusl? Ghusl is. Therefore, when you make, for example, ghusl janaba, you don't need wudu. Some other ghusl, they may need wudu depending on the view of marajah. But ghusl janaba, normally the fatwa is that you don't need wudu. Even some say that, for example, ghusl jum'ah also doesn't need wudu. Some marajah. So ghusl is so powerful because it is from hadath akbar, but wudu is coming next after that. So he says here we are trying to remove problems which are less fundamental, or you can say they are more outward, or more, I don't like to say superficial, but I mean less fundamental. Then he says we need to remove our moral problems. So this is why I didn't like to say superficial. It means it's not as fundamental as the first one. One problem that we have, which is very fundamental, is to look at ourselves as independent beings. This is where our ego comes. Another problem which comes after this is to have vicious traits of character. This is less difficult to deal with, and this is more immediate to deal with, to remove bad habits, bad qualities of the heart. This is a step before the final step, which is to remove your ego and be totally immersing or united with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan, because had this problem of arrogance and finding himself superior to others was rejected. Allah said, فَخْرُجْ مِنْهَا فَإِنَّكَ الرَّجِيمُ. Leave this Jannah, this garden. You are rejected. So, Imam Khomeini says, Shaitan was in a high position, and because of arrogance was rejected. How can then we, with arrogance, hope to rise to high position? If someone who was high because of this is sent down, how can we who are in asfal safilin expect that we can have the same problem and rise? It's impossible. Shaitan was looking at his good quality, which of course was gift of Allah, and looking down at Adam and ignoring his good qualities, just looking at one aspect of Adam and one aspect of himself. He said, I am better than Adam. أنا خير منه خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. I am better than Adam. You created me from fire. You created him from clay. This is very wrong argument. First of all, no matter what is the material you are created from. Suppose you are created from better material. When Allah says, do something, you have to do it. Number two, Adam is not just clay. Allah didn't say, do sajda in front of clay. Said, فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. When I complete his body, then I blow into him from my spirit, you do sajda. So sajda was not for clay. Sajda was for that soul, that spirit that Allah gave to Adam. That human spirit. Shaitan is ignoring that. Just is looking at the clay and fire. So, the problem of Shaitan is arrogance. The problem of Shaitan is pride, is self-admiration. We need to make sure that we don't have the same problems. Otherwise, we cannot hope to rise towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, he says, پس بر سالک الله لازم است. Look how Salat itself is a whole training, school, is a whole, workshop. Just Salat. Starting from Voodoo, from, Tahara, facing Qibla, putting on clean dress. Everything is full of lessons for our spirituality. We shouldn't do it just as a routine. So he says, it is upon the wayfarer towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala که در وقت تطهیر از ارجاس سوریه. When a wayfarer towards Allah is washing himself and trying to remove formal, physical, worldly impurities. For example, there is blood, there is, other problems. The wayfarer at this time should purify himself from امهات رذائل و ارجاس باطنیه شیطانیه. Must purify himself from fundamental vices from satanic traits of character. And with water of mercy, because water stands for mercy of Allah, this is Rahma of Allah. With this water of mercy of Allah, and with religious irtiyaz, religious practice, religious disciplining, purify his heart, which is the place of manifestation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How Allah said to Musa alayhi salam, فَخْلَعْ عَلَيْكَ إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى. Remove your shoes, O Musa, you are in a sacred place. Okay? So he says, خَلْعْ نَعْلَيْنِ حُبِّ جَاه وَالشَّرَفْ نَمَايَدْ. So the ritual side of it was not to take dust from outside to the sacred place. But the spiritual meaning of it is not to go with hubbul jah, with the love for fame and social appreciation and social praise and social position. Don't go with the dust, with impurity of this towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that you can really connect with Allah. So Allah is the purest of the pure. When we are impure, we cannot connect with him. And if you are purify yourself, you can connect with him, and then manifestation of Allah happens to you. So we need first to observe legal responsibilities, duties, tasks, whatever you call, obligations, takalif. This is one level of taqwa. And he calls this taqwāye tam mulki dunyai. This is the least level of taqwa, the lowest level of taqwa. This is taqwa which is mulki. It's for this world. For the lowest level is to do fiqhi requirements, which is very important, and it has to be completely practiced. Okay, tam, it has to be complete. Every duty that you have in fiqh, you need to observe. Every haram which is explained fiqh, you have to refrain. But after this, there is taqwāye qalbi. It's more than taqwāye mulki, it's for heart. And that is to remove vices and acquire virtues. But the highest level of taqwa is for your sir, inner self. And that is tark ghayr haq, to leave aside everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to prohibit for yourself anything other than him. قُلِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ ذَرْهُمْ. قُلِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ ذَرْهُمْ. Say Allah and leave everything else. It's not just to leave idols. No, any concern other than Allah should be left aside. Even forget yourself. Find yourself in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as you are seeing yourself as independent and you want to make relation with Allah, still you have problem. So he says, تا سالک را بقایایی از انانیت است, as long as there are even traces of yourself, تجلی حق بر سر او نگردد. Allah's manifestation would not appear on your inner self, because Allah can manifest in your sir, in your batin. Then he says, it's very important that we avoid ifrat and tafrit, extremism from both sides. This is one of the challenges that in every age we find. Some people go to one extreme and they say everything is just spirituality and Sharia is just for the beginners. When you make some progress, you rise above such duties and responsibilities. Don't pay attention to these responsibilities which are explained in fiqh. They will distract you. They will divide your attention. This is one extreme. Another extreme is that some people try to reduce everything just to these obligations and deny spirituality and irfan and deep spiritual meanings for our acts of worship and for every act indeed. They deny, they say, it's not possible to go above these, ordinary levels. And there is also sometimes, lots of argumentation going on between those who deny Sharia, but they are very much, praising spirituality, and those who deny, irfan, etc., and just talk about, Sharia. And he says both have missed the balance. We need to have both sides. He says we need to observe Sharia completely. And this is one aspect of Risala of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is the last prophet, and his Risala is the seal of all the missions. In this Risala you find balance. There is comprehensive approach. Everything which is needed is taken into consideration without going to extreme. We are not just focusing on Sharia or just on the spiritual mystical side. We need to observe both. And Rasulullah himself and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam had both. Rasulullah was not doing less wajibat than others or imams. Actually, they were doing more. Some of the things that were mustahab for others, for Rasulullah was wajib, like Salatul Layl for him was wajib. So we need to have both sides. And then he says something that we had in the previous discussions. If you remember, one of the things that we had was tafhim. Those who were from the beginning of the book, with us, they remember how you need to make sure that your entire being understands ibadah, and what you are saying and doing would reach your batin. So he says here, غایت سیر اهل الله آن است که طبیعت و ملک بدن را منسبق به سبقت الله کنند. قرآن says سبقت الله و من احسن من الله سبقه. Allah has a special color to give to our things. So if something belongs to Allah, if something is godly, has a special color. Okay, so he says the ultimate journey of the Wayfarers is to make sure that nature and body are painted with that godly color. And then he refers to a hadith which is about Rahim and Silay Rahim, but he has a mystical interpretation. There's a hadith Qudsi which says, Ana Allah wa ana Rahman. I am Allah, I am Rahman. You know, one of the names of Allah is Ar-Rahman. And Ar-Rahman is like Allah. Qulidullah, Abad Ar-Rahman. These are proper nouns. It's not just adjective. Ar-Rahman is for Allah. Therefore, you should not call any person Rahman. You can call Abdul Rahman, but we should not call any person Rahman, because it's like calling someone Allah. We should not say Allah, should Abdullah, not Allah. Rahim is okay. It can be used for someone other than Allah. But Rahman only for Ana Allah wa ana Rahman. Khalaqtu Rahim. Allah says, I created the womb. Womb in Arabic is called Rahim. Rahim comes from Rahma, mercy. وَشَقَقْتُ لَهَا أَسْمَاءً مِنْ إِسْمِ. From the same root, Rahma, Allah has chosen names for himself. Rahman, Rahim, Arhamur Rahimin, Khairur Rahimin, Zu Rahma, Zu Rahmatin Wasi'ah. So all come from the same root. فَمَنْ وَصَلَهَا وَصَلْتُهُ وَمَنْ قَطَعَهَا قَطَعْتُهُ. Whoever connects Ar-Rahim, connects with the kinship, who does Silay Rahim, I have connected with him, or I will make him rich. And if someone disconnects, I will disconnect him. So it shows how much Rahma is important. Rahma, is very, very important. In discussions about Rahma, we talked about this, you can refer to this series on understanding God's mercy. And it's not by accident that womb of the mother is called Rahim. No, in Arabic, this is called the Rahim because it's where you first, in your physical development, you first receive mercy of Allah in the womb of the mother. Okay? And then you come to this world, which is a larger womb. And again, you are surrounded with mercy of Allah in this world. And then we go, inshallah, to the hereafter, where we receive even more mercy of Allah. Maybe 99 out of 100 mercy of Allah is manifested in the hereafter. So, if we do Silay Rahim, means if we respect the womb that has hosted us, with siblings, that womb is your mother. With cousins, uncles is your grandmother or grandmothers. Then it can go higher. Actually, we are all fellow human beings, and we have relation through our mother Eve, Hawa. So if we observe this relation and we respect this womb that brings us together, it has connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means that we can now expect more mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there is also a mystical interpretation here. And he says, unfortunately or fortunately, because maybe this had to happen, when we are in this world, in this tabi'ah, in this physical material world, we are disconnected from our main abode. Yeah, we don't belong to this world. We are temporarily put in this world. This is a prison for us. Yeah, we belong to another realm. We are spiritual by nature, by essence, by origin, but we are put in a physical place. It's a cage for us, like a bird that belongs to the air, to the sky, yeah, is put in a cage on the floor. Okay, so we are a stranger in this world. We need to do Salaya Rahim. What does it mean from a spiritual perspective, mystical perspective? Means we need to connect with our origin. Our origin is Inna Lillah wa Inna Ilayhi Rajiun. We should go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should go back to our origin. We should go back to that spirit that is Rahmani, that Allah blew into Ādāb. He refers also to a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Again, this hadith has two aspects. One simple exoteric aspect is about respecting nature and trees, and in particular date tree or palm tree. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, "Istawsu bi'ammatikum nakhla khayra." You know, in Islamic hadith, we are advised to respect earth, and sometimes earth is called like our mother. We are asked also to respect certain things in particular. For example, nakhla, date or palm tree, is introduced as your aunt. Amma. Amma means sister of your father. There is a relation of rahim between us and date tree. Imam says, فَإِنَّهَا خُلِقَتْ مِنْ طِينَةِ آدَمَ. This tree is created from the same clay of Ādāb alayhi salam. So there's a close relation. It is very interesting that in also literature, Nakhl has some special way of treatment, unlike other trees when they want to refer to Nakhla. There are some characteristics that it has. So we can say it means that we should respect environment, we should respect trees, we are from the soil, these trees aren't from the soil. But hadith seems to refer to something deeper. There's a deeper relation. And it's referring to not soil as the physical soil. This tina, ahadith of tina, is not about physical, soil. When we say clay of mu'min, clay of kafir, for example, shi'atuna khuliqu min fadlatina wa ujnu bima'in mahabbatina, this is not physical soul. This is spiritual soul. It means that we all come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and among creatures of Allah that we see in dunya, some like human beings have shorter distance from Allah, or you can say they are closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, if we are aware of that, we can benefit from them more. They can help us with worldly side and a spiritual side better. Any tree is nice. Any tree can help us in different ways, but there are psychological benefits that we can get from them as well. There are spiritual benefits also we can get from them, and they are not the same. They have different impacts. So, what we want to understand from these hadiths is that we need to know that we don't belong to this physical world, to this alam mulk. Although we live here, although we are staying here for a period of time, part of our life is happening here. But we belong to another world, and we are going to return to that world. So let us remember our origin and let us prepare ourselves for return. Whether we like or not, whether we want or not, we are going to return. But in what condition? If we are affected by being in this world, then our return would not be enjoyable. If we are not affected from this physical world and just benefit from it, then we will return in a much higher position than when we entered. We entered as an innocent child, but we can go back in a much more, understanding, much even more spiritual, if we know how to benefit from this period. So again, Imam Khomeini says that we should be very careful not to deny the positions that Ahl Ma'rifat have, the mystics have. He sometimes, instead of saying Urafa, he says Ahl Ma'rifat, the people of Ma'rifah. We should not deny. If you don't have it, if you don't want to have it, that's up to you. But don't deny, don't reject, don't attack Urafa, because then, you are putting yourself in big problem, and then that is in a position of denial. When you don't know something, don't deny, don't reject. Don't attack people who have reached and seen those realities. And also don't deny Sharia. This is again another mistake. This is another extreme. He says, it is interesting that now in the night of the birthday of the Prophet, we read this part. He says, one of the meanings of the Risala of the Prophet, which is the last one, is that everything is receiving its right in this Risala, in this mission. Whether it is about the realm of Rububiyyah, understanding God, connecting with God, or about what we should do in this world, both receive their rights. So it's very balanced and comprehensive. For example, when it comes to knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His highest position that He has, and also nearest position that He has. He's very high but very near. If you deny His highness and think He's like a human being, that's a problem. If you say He is very high but not reachable, that's also a problem. Therefore, the Quran says something which only, philosophers and mystics can really understand. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن. He's the first and the last. Because if you think he's the first, but other things come after him, and he is not there in all these, positions, that's a problem. He's the first, he's the last, he's the zahir, the outward, the batin, the inward, everything, everywhere. Or Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the skies and the earth. Or there is hadith that even if you go with a rope, if you manage to go with a rope to the lowest places inside the earth, if you manage to go close to the center of the earth, you are not going away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَحَبَطْتُمْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. You will descend again close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means it's not that Allah is not there. Allah is everywhere. Allah is in the sky. Allah is in the center of the earth. Or أَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Wherever you turn, face of God is there. Okay? And he says such teachings of Islam gives so much joy to people of ma'rifah, those who are thirsty for knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and finding a spirituality in everything. And this is the beauty of Islam, that we have so much of this, but on the other hand, we pay attention to all the details of worldly life. So this is the balance that we have in this Sharia. Okay, then there is a quotation from Misbah al-Sharia. Inshallah, we will discuss it bi'idhnillah in the next session. In this night of the birth anniversary of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, we humbly request Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us deep and balanced and comprehensive understanding of the mission of Prophet, who is Rahmatun lil Alameen, to understand the beautiful teachings of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, which is true continuity of the same mission of the Prophet, as Ahlul Bayt had the greatest knowledge of the teachings of the Prophet. Ahlul Bayt adra bima fil Bayt. And may Allah inshallah make us able to share with the rest of the world, inshallah, the beautiful fragrance of the Prophet and Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. If you have any question, any comment. Is there any question? Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
My question is just Mawlid Mubarak, inshallah.
Mubarak to you, inshallah, and family.
Inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all your amal and give us the shafa'ah of the Prophet. Thank you for this amazing teaching. Thank you very much.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, and your family and our entire community, inshallah.
Thank you.
Ahsantum fi aman. May Allah bless all of you, inshallah. التماس دعاء في أمان الله.